righty. Back for another edition of Sean and Spin in the morning, except we're in the evening and Sean's not here. So it's Spin in the evening, I guess, today you can call it. But Sean will be back with us on Wednesday as he gets back from vacation. He's doing cowboy shit. So that's kick ass. He's doing cowboy shit. But I was gonna maybe do one today, maybe not. I was like, I don't know. Without Sean, maybe we don't do one. We'll go just get back at it on Wednesday. And I'm like, well, actually, I don't know if we can do that because too much shit is happening, especially yesterday with the Devers news, which of course we're going to talk about on our Monday, June 16th edition, episode 25, by the way, presented by Off Base Media. And let's get right into it because everybody's fucking talking about this. This is the talk of the town. And this is the main reason why we had to just come on and rip a fucking episode today. Because we have to talk about Rafael fucking Devers. There's also a lot of other shit going around the league too. Ohtani's is going to be pitching tonight in what you can call a rehab assignment. Giancarlo Stanton, I think he'll be back in the Bronx tonight. So a lot of things, but the most important thing that we have to talk about first, because this is going to be a huge, huge fucking chunk of the show, is going to be Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers traded. I'll do my initial reaction. I had an initial reaction video yesterday on TikTok. I took it down because it wasn't all that great, and I have more information on it now. So I figured I might as well come out here and just spew my shit. I'll go back on my initial reaction, talk a little bit about that, and then talk about what we do know now. So I think in my first reaction, I was talking about Kyle Harrison, and I'm like, well, he actually got dealt in the deal, so I had to get my facts straight. They caught me off guard. I think they caught everybody off guard with this Devers move, but here it is. We'll do initial reaction and more. We'll get to the nitty gritty. Giants receive Rafael Devers. We all know that in exchange for Jordan Hicks, goes to Boston. Kyle Harrison shipping up to Boston. James Tibbs, who is like a highly regarded prospect, outfield, hits lefty. Cool, whatever. Jose Bello also in the mix. Don't really know who the fuck that is. San Fran, also important to mention. San Fran also eats the remainder of Devers' contract, which is big. You have to mention that. I think that's the big driving factor here as to why what happened. That's the big driving factor is the Giants are eating the remainder of this contract, because if you just look at who you get in return, you're going to say to yourself, what the fuck? But the fact that the Giants are willing to eat this contract, I think that is the big driving factor here. So you have to bring that up. That's important to mention. We'll talk about what this means for Boston, what this means for San Fran. I think if we're just going to talk about this remainder of the contract stuff and how the Giants are going to eat that, we'll see what happens. So the Red Sox are young. We know that, okay? We know that Boston, or I should say Devers, has been just DHing this year. If you're Boston, do you like paying a DH all that much? Are they in the position to do that? I don't know. I think the first, plus you look at the issues that he's had off the field. He's been playing great baseball on the field, but off the field with the whole doesn't want to play further, all that's old news. But the whole Devers saga since spring training, he's been in the news a lot, and it really hasn't been for good stuff. Even though he's having a good season, I think his season has actually been getting overshadowed by what's been going on off the field. So that's not a good look. And also the fact the cherry on top might have been him not hustling out a ground ball again in that Yankees series. That's not really pretty either. And if he's your main guy, you're paying him all this money to kind of be a guy, he's only DHing for you. So maybe Boston doesn't want to spend all that money on just a DH, a guy who's not good defensively. They're not in the position to do that. They want to stay young. They want to have the freedom to spend at the deadline because they still have holes that are quite evident. Now, Bregman's going to come back, but if he is an opt-out. So we'll see what happens with him. They have to hold on to Bregman because they need a little bit of veteran presence on this team. And Bregman is like their superstar right now, even though he's hurt. So we'll see what ultimately happens with that. But with Devers in particular, do they want to pay a DH all that much? Maybe they don't like that. Where San Fran, I think, is more more inclined to do that right now in the position that they are in. They want a superstar. We'll talk about them in a second. But the Red Sox, they're content with being young, investing a lot in their young guys. And you look at the precedents that Devers, who's supposed to be a veteran and a leader, gets paid to be. You look at the precedents he's been setting, kind of giving media and giving the media like ammunition and things to talk about, kind of not really saying the right things, even though you can voice your opinion, I guess. I don't know if it came across very good. I think maybe some of these things he shouldn't have took to meet the media, whether you agree with him or not. I do think there were some things he shouldn't have took to the media. Well, he's been doing that. That doesn't really look great. And then he's not hustling uh, these ground balls. Maybe it was only one time, but still, it doesn't help his cause at all. And you look at the precedents that sets when you're like main star player is like that. Not to mention, I don't think the relationship between star player and front office was all that great, and that was both parties are to blame. I don't like how Devers handled it, but I don't think the front office was necessarily super transparent. That's going to be the key word here with the Devers move is the transparency. So I don't think they were very transparent with him. You could say they maybe ambushed him with the whole Bregman thing. We all knew Bregman was going to come over, or maybe even Arenado. I think they went Bregman obviously, and we knew that they were going to make a move. But then I think at first it was like Bregman's going to play second. You're our third baseman, and then it's like, oh, by the way, Bregman's going to play third actually. We want you to just DH, and then got injuries happen. So I don't think they were very transparent with him. I don't think he felt maybe he felt a little ambushed by it. I don't know. I don't think he felt good about how the whole thing went down. Oh, clearly he didn't feel good about how the whole thing went down. I don't think his approach to it, like in response, I don't think his response was good to it. But either way, both parties are a little bit to blame here. So does that mean it was a little bit of an emotional decision by the front office? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I think the emotion has to come by trying to set a precedent from top to bottom of this organization, though. Okay, so when you have a guy like Devers who's supposed to be this guy and is maybe a leader for you, not maybe he has a good relationship with his teammates. He has a really good relationship with Alex Cora. That seems to be the word on the street. But when you're kind of not hustling out some of these plays that you should be, and listen, you're in a clubhouse full of young guys. What do you want your team? What's the culture like? Is he a locker room cancer? Those words start getting thrown out. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But maybe that's far-fetched, but these are the things that come up. One, now they're over 500, but for the most part, weren't winning to the level that maybe they should have been winning at in the first half of the season or up until June 16th. They just swept the Yankees, though, but up until June 16th, now we'll see him in the Bay Area. I guess he's playing in, I don't know. We'll get to the upcoming matchups then. I don't know what's going on. But either way, in a room full of young guys, a clubhouse of young dudes, is that the precedence you want to set when your main guy? First of all, you're paying him all this money. He's just DHing. He's not good defensively. So you're just paying him all this money to just DH. Maybe you don't like that. Maybe right now you're just super invested in your young guys. And if he's not hustling things out and he's not, really putting the team, I should say, like putting a bad taste in people's mouth. I don't really know the best way to say it, but you saw how he's acting with not kind of losing his job as a third baseman and what he's done in response of just being a DH, not willing to play first base, all these things. And it's like, well, we have all these young guys. We don't want that. We have to set a precedence here. And if you're not going to be bought into this team, and if you're not going to do what's best for the team at times, and you're gone. I don't care how good you are. So I think it sets a precedence top to bottom of this organization. When you have all these young guys, you need leaders. And I don't think he was really doing that at a high level. So he's gone. Okay, so they are very young. What we talked about, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the clubhouse. Like maybe he had a fine relationship with his teammates. That's the wrong one. I put this one together. This is kind of a lot of MLB Network stuff, which I agree with. So I figured I'd put that down. Okay, I figured I'd just kind of this was per MLB Network, the lineup that they put out. Their potential Red Sox starting lineup without Rafael Devers. This is at full health, of course, because you see Bregman and Willie Abreu are currently banged up. So they do get weaker offensively. Okay. Willie Abreu, when he comes back, is going to have to kind of take that role as like a left-handed hitter that can bat third for you. Again, a young guy, one of the older guys, but still very young. So he's going to have to take over that role. Bregman makes for a really good two-hole hitter, of course, when he's healthy with Duran at the top. Duran's going to stay. There's a lot of speculation. Duran maybe gets dealt at the deadline. He has to stay now. Navarez, I guess, if he's the best option to bat fourth, fine. I don't care. Roman Anthony's there. Okay, it's a lot about player development. You see Marcelo Meyer at full health. He moves over to say he's a career middle infielder. He's been playing a lot of third base this year, since he's come up in the absence of Bregman. But he's a career middle infielder, a career shortstop. The story at short, you move Marcelo Meyer to second base, which moves Christian Campbell to first, because this year is all about developing young guys, okay, with Rafaela at center. When you're developing these young guys, now can the Red Sox win while also developing young guys? That's going to be the big question here. Okay, can the Red Sox do a fair share of winning? The AL East isn't as good as it once was. It's not as good this year. So can the Red Sox kind of make a push, a late push, maybe sneak into the playoffs, a wild card spot, and in the process of doing all that, develop these young guys? Because that's what it's going to be. So short term, yes, they look weaker. Okay, now they do address some issues with their pitching staff, bringing in Kyle Harrison is kind of the big one, and then Jordan Hicks, a big one, you know what I mean? But Jordan Hicks also, who is made a name for himself early in his career as a bullpen piece. Now he's a starter. So do you use him as a starter? I know you need help in the back end of that bullpen, Boston. Do you move Jordan Hicks back there? I don't know. He's probably going to be a starter. But I'm just saying they have options now with their pitching staff. They 100% get weaker offensively, and this is at full health. So the good news is that between Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro, they've been filling the void fine at first base and corners, because Abraham Toro could play both corners. They've been doing a fine job there. But at full health, you're probably looking at something like this. And again, you need to give Christian Campbell his reps because you have invested a lot in him. Marcelo Meyer, same thing. So they're going to be kind of moving around and bouncing around the right side of that infield there. Get this out of my face. So that's what Boston's going to look like. Okay, and the big question is long-term and short-term. So short-term, I don't think they look great short-term. If they could do a little bit of winning and make a little push in the short run, and now maybe these young guys get a taste of these playoff atmosphere. I still don't know if they're out of playoff contention. They are over 500 right now, and the AL Central seems to be trending down. So we'll see how that continues to roll. But if they could do a little bit of something and then play in some pivotal games late in the season, maybe they make a bit of a push. Maybe they sneak in. But they could be playing in Fenway in pivotal games. That's going to be good for the young guys. But that's what it is right now. It's a lot of investing in these young guys and developing these young guys as the season progresses. I think that they can do a fair share of winning and also develop with these young guys. I do think that's possible to do both. But in the short term, they look worse off on paper than what they were. Even though maybe the locker room issues get addressed without Devers, I don't really know. That's a lot of speculation. We talked about that. But on paper, and he's having a fantastic. Devers would have started in the All-Star game. Okay, so it's not really a matter of his production on the field. But they do get worse in the short run. Long term, listen, Roman Anthony could turn out to be exactly what we all think he's going to be. Same with the Christian Campbells and the Marcelo. Like long term, it could work out. But right now, we'll see. And right now, if we're talking about long term, short term, maybe Boston's thinking big picture. San Fran's thinking right now. So San Fran's thinking they got to win, and they're going to win now. Let's pull up the hypothetical San Fran one. Is this the wrong one again? San Fran. This is the lineup I put together. MLB Network had a different one because they like Chapman at full health being in the 2-hole hitter. I love Heliot Ramos, so I put him up high. But at full health with Devers, you're probably looking around something like this. I think this takes a lot of strain off of Willy Adames, who was not playing good to start his Giants career. I think you could probably move him down in the order, make him a 5, and that maybe takes a little bit of pressure off of him. Wilmer Flores has been one of their better homer and ribby guys this year. You put him down in the order there. With Jung-Hoo Lee there, and Devers, who they didn't really have a lefty to kind of bat in like a 3-hole or like a top of the line lefty. Jung-Hoo Lee. Now Jung-Hoo Lee, when he was at his peak this year, was batting third. So they've been in need of a left-handed hitter to kind of fill that void. Now that Jung-Hoo Lee has come back down to earth, the leadoff spot is better for him. But now Devers is going to look fantastic. I think he's going to DH at first, and we're going to talk about the transparency and that the San Fran has the ability to handle this Devers situation because they can learn from the mistakes that Boston made. So I think you're looking at something like this. This 100% makes San Fran, their lineup looks really fucking good now. So you figure Matt Chapman comes back and he's going to fit well there. Patrick Bailey comes back, whatever. I put Patrick Bailey, the 8-hole hitter. I'm old school with it. I think the worst hitter in the lineup bats 8th, and then Tyler Fitzgerald can act as another leadoff man, turn the lineup around back to that lefty, righty, lefty. So they get good. They get good in that regard because they can kind of bounce around lefty, righty, lefty, and they have an identity more now so than ever. And we started to see that last year with San Francisco because they've had an identity crisis really after the Bochy era, maybe a little bit towards the end of Bochy's tenure, at the end of the 2010s, entering the start of the 2020s. They've had an identity crisis in San Francisco. They had a lot of former Mets think the Confortos of the world, or Wilmer Flores even, and JD Davis, a lot of former Mets that were kind of role players. Never did they really have a superstar up until you started to see it last year when Matt Chapman had a good first season, hit like 27 bombs there. They bring in Willy Adames in the offseason, and the wheels start to turn. Heliot Ramos had a good season last year. Now Jung-Hoo Lee off to a good start. So you're starting to see the wheels start spinning in San Fran. But remember, when any time that there's been this big name position player, Logan Webb at the top of the rotation, so they're starting to see some things. But my point is, for a little while now, when Judge was a free agent, they didn't land him. I think they were in the talks when Ohtani was a free. They've been in need of a big name, kind of a superstar aircraft carrier player. They haven't landed some guys in the past. Even I'll mention Carlos Correa. Remember the physical thing? He failed like a physical or whatever. Stayed in Minnesota. Not that he's the same superstar as those other guys, but he gives you a bit of an identity, and he's a notable player. So they've been searching for that for a while. Now the wheels start spinning, and now Buster Posey, who's the president of baseball operations in San Francisco, he makes this move, and they want to win, and they want to win now, which makes sense because that's what Posey knows how to do. That's all Posey knows how to do is win and win right the fuck now. Because if you're Buster Posey, you got to look at Posey's playing career. His rookie season was 2010. He won a fucking World Series in 2010. And he was a rookie of the year, World Series champion. 2 years later in 2012, wins another one and an MVP. 2014, he wins another one. So with this guy, two things that Posey knows is the San Francisco Giants as an organization, because he's spent his whole career there, and he knows how to win. He knows how to win now. And as soon as he entered the league, they won. He won, 3 rings in 5 years. He was a part of all those championship teams in San Francisco with Bruce Bochy, right? He was a part of that. So if there's one thing that Buster Posey knows, it's coming in and winning right now. And now he takes over as president of baseball operations. This is his first year doing it. And guess what? They're winning. So big hat off to Buster Posey. He knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win, especially in this organization. And you bring in a guy like Rafael Devers, and you look at Rafael Devers, who doesn't have a long sample, like this big sample size of playing against NL West opponents. He's been the AL East his whole career. Now he's in the NL West, and in his numbers against NL West opponents have been really good. 33 games. He has 30 hits in 33 games against NL West teams, 10 homers, 21 ribbies, and 866 OPS. So he's had success against these teams. I think he's going to come in and at first be a DH, and we'll see how they continue to roll. My initial reaction with the whole Devers thing in San Fran was a lot of, and I alluded to this earlier, it's a lot of San Francisco can now learn from the mistakes that Boston made with him, because they were not very transparent with him. Now he goes over to San Fran, and they're going to say, hey, Rafael, we're going to be very transparent with you. Right now, Matt Chapman's banged up. If we need you to play third base, maybe. They do have a dude by the name of Casey Schmidt. That's Schmidt with 2 T's. I guess he's all right. He's serviceable. But whatever. If we need you to play third in the absence of Matt Chapman, okay, fine. I doubt it, but maybe. And until maybe when Matt Chapman comes back, you're taking reps at third. You're staying loose. You're taking reps at first base. We'll slowly but surely ease you into that position. Maybe Chapman comes back. He plays first. I think for the most part, he's going to be a DH, but I think being transparent with Devers might see it as just being that's refreshing to him, because I don't think they did that. There might be a little bit of bad blood. I think actually San Francisco and Boston, I think they play each other this weekend, so that's going to be interesting. But maybe there's a little bit of bad blood between the front office and Devers. They weren't really transparent with him. Again, transparency is the name of the game right now, because Devers has clearly proven to be a guy that doesn't like surprises, I guess, to put it lightly. But they could say that, okay, when Matt Chapman comes back, play third a little bit, maybe not crazy. He's bad defensively, so maybe they don't like it. But either way, you could have these conversations with him, these conversations that Boston didn't seem to have with him. So now San Fran can do these things, and maybe he sees it as, oh, this is refreshing. This front office is at least acting like they give a shit about me, and maybe it's refreshing. Also, he strikes me as a guy who's quite petty, so he might be playing first base just out of sheer pettiness alone. Either way, it was a little bit my initial reaction, because San Fran does want to win. They want to win now. That's a harder division, but they're better in the standings. They're a second-place team in a more competitive division, and they want to win right now. And this guy is going to give you a great opportunity to do that. Not to mention, little side note here, before the season started, we've been talking about, or I guess the news with San Francisco has been who's going to be are they going to have a 30 home run guy? Because they haven't had this is why I bring this up. They haven't had a 30 home run hitter since Barry Bonds did it in whatever early mid 2000s. So they haven't. The San Francisco Giants, even though they won those 3 rings in 5 years, they never had a guy hit 30 home runs since Barry Bonds did it whenever he was still kicking. So now we enter this year and we're saying, okay, well, Matt Chapman hit 27 last year for them. Could he do it? I don't know. Heliot Ramos was an all-star for them last year. Maybe he brings a little bit of thunder, and his bat he does. He's the only righty to go to McCovey Cove, Oppo. So there's that. Now Willy Adames enters the chat because he had a 40-homer season with Milwaukee last year. All these guys enter the conversation. Who's going to be their 30-home run hitter? Are they going to have a 30-home run hitter for the first time in maybe 20-something years? Maybe. But no one did we expect Devers. So Devers very well could be that guy. And not to mention, he has 15 home runs this year, all 15 of them coming with Boston, of course. But not to mention, all those guys that were in question were all right-handed hitters. He is a lefty. He adds to this team tremendously. He adds to this lineup tremendously. They eat the contract, whatever, but they want to win now. The offense looks scary, and maybe they're in a position where they're okay with paying a DH, even if he just is a DH. I think he gets a little bit more reps in the corners because I think they are a little bit more in need of that. I can see, they kind of need corner guys, especially in the absence of Matt Chapman. First base has been a hole. They DFA'd Lamont Wade. So first base has been a bit of a hole. So when you talk about corner guys / DH position that needs to be fulfilled, Devers can do those things. Maybe he just strictly DHs because he maybe could be seen as a defensive liability. But either way, he could very well do a lot of great things over there and propel this team to being even better than what they were. And what I was saying before is maybe that this team is okay with paying a guy who maybe is just strictly a DH for the most part. Maybe he plays the majority of the season as just a DH. Fine. But they're okay with paying him all that money to just hit, maybe because they look at his defense as a liability. But also look at that division. Shohei Ohtani gets paid massive money, and now he's pitching tonight. But he's a massive name that got paid $1 million last year. Sorry, $1 billion. Bit almost, right, to just DH last year. Now he's back on the mound on kind of a rehab assignment. We'll talk more about him at a sack. I call it a rehab. That's what it is. You got to call it what it is. It's a rehab assignment. But they're doing it, and they're at the top of the heap of that division. How do you compete? Well, let's bring in a massive left-handed bat of our own, and we're in a position right now that we're okay with doing that. We're okay with doing that. So that's a little bit on them. It checks off a lot of boxes. They have a superstar now, a little bit more of an identity, power hitter, lefty bat, guy who could maybe play the corners if you need, but DH is going to be an important spot that they have to fulfill as well. We'll see how they continue to develop these pitchers. I don't hate a Hayden Bird song. He's still with you. Robbie Ray will be an all-star this year, and Logan Webb at the top. So it's not like they don't have some notable guys in that staff. And the bullpen has been playing good ball in San Fran's bullpen. Okay, so I think it's kind of evident what San Fran still needs. It's never a bad idea to get more arms, and we'll see what they have to do. But it's very evident what the Red Sox have to go get at the deadline if they're going to continue to be competitive. Because I do think that they can be competitive and still develop young players. I think both things can play true. Let's move on to the other crazy news in the NL West, which is, in fact, Shohei Ohtani, who is making his first start of the season, but his first start as a Dodger tonight against division rival San Diego Padres. He's expected to go 1 or 2 innings tonight, so we have to call a spade a spade. This is going to be a rehab assignment. I keep saying it, and that's because that's what it is. Let's not look at this as, Ohtani's back on the mound. Let's expect him to go deep. He's not going to go deep. 1 or 2 innings is about what he's going to do tonight. But this is his first time pitching since August 23rd of 2023 with the Angels. Okay, and of course, his first time starting a game with the Dodgers. The reason you got to call it a rehab assignment, because if it was anybody else, they'd be kind of coming up through the minor leagues, getting their arm right, getting back to going deep into games like he can be, and especially if you're Ohtani, getting back to being a top-of-the-line rotation arm, because he is a top-of-the-line arm when he's healthy. So usually you kind of do these things in the minor leagues, but you can't send him down to the minor leagues because then you miss his bat. You got to keep his bat around. So you have to keep him in the major leagues and then do this, like, quote-unquote rehab assignment where he'll go 1 or 2 innings tonight, maybe once every 5th day, once every 6th day. I don't know. We'll have to see how Dave Roberts manages this. And this is part of the whole thing with the Dodgers, right? Like they have the ability to cater to Otani's needs. They have a lot of arms, a lot of starters, a deep bullpen. I don't know if the bullpen's been like living up to par per se, but a good deep bullpen, arms, right? So if you go 1 or 2 innings, but he's an opener. We've seen it happen before. Essentially, he's an opener for them tonight. But they have the arms that could be able to get you through 9 innings with your starter, who Ohtani will be a DH tonight, and then also pitch. But you have the ability to have him go out 1, 2 innings, and then make a quote unquote bullpen game. But you have the arms to do it. You have the depth to do it. Okay, so that's what's sexy about the Dodgers, right? So obviously, whether you think he should be pitching or not be pitching, because there is that risk. If he gets banged up again and now you lose his bat, that's a fucking gigantic risk. But who cares? Well, I shouldn't say who cares. That's not the right way to put it. But basically, who cares what you think? Because we all know that he's going to be pitching this year, and well, clearly he's pitching tonight. Pitching before the All-Star break, because it was another thing. Was he going to be pitching before the? But either way, we knew he was going to be pitching this year because that's what the contract is that he is going to be pitching, whether you agree with it or not. Who gives a shit? I also think it's kind of crazy that he is doing it. Like, it's just fucking crazy. Guy's amazing, whatever. We can't speak enough about Shohei. But either way, it'll be nuts to see him back on the bump. This is a 10:10 Eastern start time, 7:10 Western. But this is the West Coast game. All eyes will be on this. Even if Ohtani wasn't pitching, all eyes would have been on this matchup because it's Dodgers San Diego on a Monday. You know, if you want something to do on a late Monday, there's a ball game for you. Where now Ohtani pitching is just the icing on the cake. So really cool stuff there. We'll see how we could tell how his quote unquote rehab assignment goes moving forward, and then maybe by playoff time he's going deeper into games. But either way, that's a little bit on Shohei, and we'll continue to watch him. Again, all eyes on that motherfucker over there. Now let's go to a guy who, okay, this isn't the Devers saga. This isn't Ohtani who does crazy shit just about every day. This is a guy by the name of Jeremy Pena. Because not a lot of people are talking about Jeremy Pena. The Astros have been one of the hotter teams in baseball, just in general. But if we're just talking about in the last 10 games, were they 8-2 in their last 10? I can check really quick. 8-2 in their last 10, 41-30, first place team, which makes them the third best team of the AL. And the Yankees got swept, so they're kind of right there. Yankees have 42 wins, but they're right there. Detroit has 46 wins. But again, Houston right in the mix of these nasty first place teams. Their success continues. They've been really top of the line team since 2017 when they won it. Now, controversy aside, we'll talk about that in a second because I think it's important to understand Houston throughout the years. Okay, but right now, not enough people are talking about Jeremy Pena. He's been a huge reason to Houston's success. I think a lot of people saw Houston taking kind of maybe falling off a little bit. I still had him as a playoff team, but not winning the division. I thought Texas was going to be the real deal. But Houston has proved to continue to be the real deal team. This is their division to lose, you know. I mean, even at the beginning of the season, it was their division to lose because they've been good for so damn long. I thought Texas was going to be the new kids on the block. We saw glimpses of Seattle getting hot. They're still 2 games over with 36 wins. That puts them 4.5 back. But we saw glimpses of Seattle kind of being a first-place team. They fell off. Houston climbs because Houston's the real deal and they can take care of business. That's just the thing with Houston. So say what you want about this 2017 team. Say what you want about the A.J. Hinch era. But we've got to fast forward till today with the Joey Espada era. And Jeremy Pena's been a big, big reason as to why Houston has continued to be one of the teams to beat in all of baseball. 8-2 in their last 10, of course, and 11 games over 500. Really good stuff because they kind of started off kind of slow, and now they're on top of the fucking world. Okay, but this is why you want to bring up Houston, and especially right now, it's been the Jeremy Pena show. You could argue he's the best shortstop in the American League, man. I mean, and I love Bobby Witt, and I think Jacob Wilson could very well start in the All-Star game. But Jeremy Pena is right in that conversation, and we're not talking about him like it. So it's important to bring him up. I don't know if he's a superstar conversation, but I am going to talk about Houston and their superstars because you have to go the full conversation with Houston, and it starts in 2017 when they won the World Series. Now, you take the controversy aside, the trash cans, the Altuve at the wires, take that stuff out of it. Or maybe it's part of the story, but I'm not going to dwell too much on that. What I'm going to choose to do, and again, Altuve with the wires happened off of the fucking. But either way, I'm not going to dwell too much on that. What I am going to dwell on is in the A.J. Hinch era, they did win in 2017. And who do they have on the roster? Okay, Bregman and Altuve, they were still there in 2022 when they won. Of course, Altuve's still there. But Altuve and Bregman were part of, if you want to call it like the big four, they were two of them, with Carlos Correa and George Springer. Yeah, Michael Brantley was there too. We could put him in the mix. But Correa and Springer were, you call them superstars? They were damn good, man. They were a huge pieces. They were both huge pieces of the Astros' success and really turning the franchise around. They were god awful. They were dog shit when they were a National League team. I was growing up. They were easily one of the worst teams year after year after year. In 2017, they kind of changed the narrative. They kind of changed the culture. And yes, okay, they were cheating, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you look who they had on paper, and they had a damn good motherfuckers. Of course, Altuve, Bregman, but Correa and Springer were monster pieces. Well, then you fast forward, and again, and now people sometimes you use the word dynasty to describe these teams. To me, and I should have probably led with this. To me, Houston is not a dynasty. What they were able to do, maybe 8 straight ALCSs, 4 World Series appearances in that span. They won 2 of them. I don't consider that a dynasty. I think a dynasty has to imply maybe if they would have had one more ring, if they would have won in like 19 or 21, and they would have won like 3 in that span, maybe. But even still, okay, I think you look. It's the difference between a dynasty and what Houston. To me, Houston's actually a little bit more impressive than a dynasty, because a dynasty you're kind of doing it a lot with the same people, and you're winning a lot in maybe like say a 5-6 year span. You're winning like three rings in 5 years or whatever the fuck it is. Like we talked about the Giants already in the Bruce Bochy era. It was all Bochy in that span with a lot of notables in the pitching staff. Posey was there for all 3 and other guys, right? They had a lot of the same cast members with the same manager, and they won 3 and 5 years. You look at, you could bring up the Bill Belichick's fucking Patriots. You could talk about maybe Jordan and the Bulls, maybe those Lakers teams with Kobe and Shaq. Whatever it is, about the early 2000 or late 90s, early 2000 Yankees, the Joe Torre era with the core 4 and Bernie Williams, right? It's a lot of the same dudes with the same manager, and they're winning a lot in a short period of time. A lot of winning in like a 5-year span, whatever it is. Where Houston, it was a larger span of winning because they won in 17 and then 22. That's like a 6-year span. They won at the beginning and the end of that 6-year span. Okay, fine. But they also are on their 3rd manager since 2017. So they won in the 2 World Series they won. One was with AJ Hinch. The other one was with Dusty Baker. So they did it with 2 different managers. And not to mention their superstars were different. Not only was it like some different supporting cast members, it was different superstars. Because we talked about, Altuve and Bregman were constants. Okay, but in 2017, you had Correa, throw Michael Brantley in the mix, Correa and Springer. And then you go to 2022, and you did it without those guys. Yes, it was Altuve and Bregman, but the new superstars were like Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez. You see what I mean? Their ability to develop superstars has been crazy, almost opposite to what the Giants, because the Giants have been in need of superstars for a while. Houston has had so many, and it's kind of carried over year after year after year. So they've, without, how do you make up for Correa and Springer? Well, Kyle Tucker and Yordan are the new kids on the block. Now you don't have Brett. Altuve is still there. Yordan is still there. He's hurt right now. But you don't have Bregman. You don't have Kyle Tucker. You did bring in some pieces in the offseason, much needed pieces. But realistically, your homegrown guy, Jeremy Pena, has been the best out of all of them. He has kind of been this new wave of this modern day. If one day it was the Springers and the Correas, and the next, 5-6 years, Tucker and Alvarez started to emerge. Now you don't have Tucker. You don't have Bregman anymore. Alvarez is hurt. Altuve is getting older. He's still fine, but he's getting older. Pena's kind of that guy now. Pena's kind of that guy now. And maybe you can make a case for Yainer Diaz. Yainer Diaz was good last year. He's off to a rough start this year, but if he gets going and Alvarez comes back, look out. So maybe the new wave of superstars here, if Jeremy Pena can continue to put together a really good season, lead this team to another division title, because that's what right now they look at him as their hottest bat. With respects to Isaac Paredes, he's been really good, good power bat there. But Pena's been good, like all around. Good batting average. The homers come when they come, but he swipes bags, and he's a Gold Glover. He's another guy. His first year in the show, he won. 2022 was his first year. Won a Gold Glove that year. I think he won ALCS MVP and a World Series MVP, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I just Googled that the other day, but something like that. And he's not been getting talked about enough. And he's kind of the new wave of Astros superstars because Astros, they went about their business a little differently. It's the same, but different. Okay, because in the past, what we saw them do was almost bring in pitchers. They had these superstars of the position players, and then what do they do for the pitching side of things? Well, that's when they would bring in arms. Think about a Verlander who did win 2 rings. Garrett Cole they brought in, didn't win with them, but obviously he was a big part of some of those teams and their success in that period of time he was there. Think about a Zach Greinke as well. Again, never won a ring, but big part of their success too, and helped them on the pitching side of things. So they did a good job of developing superstars. Like I'm not just talking about developing good players. These are studs we're talking about here, like potential MVP guys. And Altuve actually did win an MVP the one year, but like Tucker, when he's going right, he's in that conversation. I'm sure Bregman had to have gotten votes before. Alvarez had to have gotten votes before. So you're developing guys that are like that elite level of good. And I'm not saying Jeremy Pena is going to get MVP, but I don't know. The rate he's going and the way that the AL looks, I don't know. But either way, okay, they've done that stuff in the past where they've been able to develop superstars at the position player level and then bring in pitchers to kind of help them on these deep playoff runs that they've went on so many of. This year was a little different because you had Framber and Hunter Brown, kind of guys that you've had in your system. Framber had been around longer, Hunter Brown kind of the new kid on the block, but a pair of dudes and other pitchers that you've kind of developed and had in your system, and it kind of was them bringing guys up. Think of a Ryan Gusto. I don't know if that's the sexiest name, but you get the point. Maybe Ronel Blanco or whatever. Whoever the fuck else is there. Maybe Hayden Wesneski. He might be banged up. I don't know his status, but what I mean. You had these pitchers that were you were developing, and now where in the past it was you had these superstar position players that you were developing, and then you were bringing in pitchers. Now they kind of had the pitchers that they were developing, and they brought in big name position players in this offseason. Think of a Christian Walker and Isaac Paredes. Walker's been in. Okay, Paredes has been good. One of the best third basemen in baseball right now. Now with, I don't know, he could be an all-star. I don't fucking know. He's playing good ball. I don't know if the depth of the third base position is like blow you away right now. So he's there. But is the new wave of Houston superstars going to be a Yainer Diaz, who had a really good season last year, been cold this year, but he can get going. Pena has been really good. And then Altuve's the constant, the older guy, maybe the face of the organization. Jordan comes back. Maybe Christian Walker wakes up a little bit. Paredes continues to put together a good season. This is a good team, man. This is a good team, and it starts with Jeremy Pena, and also you have to tip your hat. I know Houston's left a bad taste in everyone's mouth from the 2017 fucking AJ Hinch era. But then Dusty Baker era, they win again. Now there's the Joey Espada era, and who's going to be the superstars in the Joey Espada era? It could just be Jeremy Pena and Yainer Diaz, but right now Jeremy Pena is kind of holding up his end of the deal. We have to see more of Yainer Diaz. But again, Alvarez can very well come back and get back to what he can do when healthy. Altuve, I'm not really too worried about Altuve. Paredes, I think, has put together a fine season. Maybe Christian Walker gets hot. It's a good lineup. They got some other young guys too, Cam Smith and maybe some other guys. Fucking, who's Myers? Is Jake Myers? Good season. Okay, they got a good guy in the pen. His name is Josh Hader. They got an ace in Hunter Brown, who's probably going to very well get Cy Young votes this year. And Framber Valdez. We'll see what the status on him, because I think he's a free agent at the end of the year. So we'll see what his. But again, they have it all put together. And just when you thought that they were going to be out of it, they stay relevant. And Pena's been a huge part of their success in 2025. So there's that. Now while we're in the midst of talking about these AL West teams, let's talk about Christian Moore, because Christian Moore is, for those of you who don't know, the Angels just brought him up. He was one of their top prospects, maybe their top prospect. I don't know. He's an infielder. Christian Moore, 8th overall pick just a year ago. He was the 8th overall pick. Now we're on Christian Moore watch, and we've been on a lot of these young guys. These young guys have been on our radar. Pause. But they have been, whether it be Roman Anthony Caglione, to name a few. We talked about Otto Kemp on the program as well. How about Jacob Mizanowski? How the fuck pronounce his name? He had 5 no-hit innings in his debut. Right, Mick Abel had a really good debut as well this year. And that doesn't even really mention the highly touted rookies that we knew were rookies entering this year. that like started the year on major league clubs. Think about the guys in Boston. We talked about Roman Anthony, but Christian Campbell was the guy that we knew was making the opening day roster, and he was a guy to look out for. Now throw Marcelo Meyer in the mix, but how about Jason Dominguez, Jacob Wilson in West Sacramento? There's that fucking catcher for the Dodgers, not Will Smith, but the guy that they DFA'd Austin Barnes for. He's another guy. That doesn't even really mention Dylan Cruz, who's banged up and not really having the greatest rookie season, but he was a rookie. Whatever other pitchers are out there, right? Maybe Noah Cameron, I don't fucking know. But with all these young guys coming into the league, Christian Moore is now just another one. He's kind of, everyone's high on Roman Anthony because he was the number one prospect in all of baseball. Caglione was a big story. Well, here's one for the AL West, right? We had our fun with the Central with Caglione, then we went up East with Roman Anthony. But how about Christian Moore for the Angels? Okay, he went 0 for 6 this weekend, 0 for 3, played against Baltimore, 0 for 3 on Friday. That was his debut. 0 for 3 on Saturday, didn't play on Sunday. He had 3 Ks. I think he walked once. But okay, we got to give him time to develop. He's just another young, highly touted dude that we're seeing in 2025. There's a lot of these guys. And it kind of begs the question then, right? With all these notable, highly anticipated young, that's what they are. They're all notable. They should be on everyone's radar. And they are very highly anticipated dudes. With all of these guys coming up, some of them have been up since the start of the season. Now we see guys emerging over the course of a season. But with all of these guys coming up, who's going to go on to lead their team to the playoffs this year? Because some of these guys are in interesting positions. A lot of the guys I named are big-name players on teams that are maybe under 500, but right there, maybe a 500 team, maybe a little over 500, but they haven't really ran away with anything yet. A lot of those teams seem to be like that. Look about Jacob Mizranowski last week with the Brewers. Not like they've been able to run away with anything. Look at the Red Sox and all their young guys. They haven't really been able to run away with anything. We'll see if Jason Dominguez continues to trend. I'd love for him to be a big. I actually thought he pisses me off a lot. I actually thought he played a decent left field with that monster over the weekend. I didn't think he looked awful there. But we'll talk about Roman Anthony, Caglione on their teams. Red Sox just got to be a game over 500. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Royals, who we'll talk about in a second, horrible fuck. They're playing. They're one of the coldest teams in the sport. 6 losers of 6 straight, back-to-back sweep. They didn't win a single game all of last week. Terrible stuff. So who's going to be the new face of their respective organizations? That's what time will tell. But there's a lot of guys. It's a good crop. It's a hell of a crop. Okay. I tend to think, to answer my first question, if we were to kind of just pick one, just for the sake of the conversation, with all these notable, highly anticipated young dudes coming up, who will go on to lead their team to the playoffs this year, I kind of lean Caglione and Kansas City. And we'll talk more about them. The division doesn't look great. Not that the AL East looks great either. So you can like Roman Anthony. I just think Roman Anthony's role in Boston, now that Devers isn't there, his role is a little bit more. I think they ask him to do a little bit more than what they're going to ask Caglione to do in KC. But either way, let's look at the Angels really quick. They're 33-37, 4 games under, 7.5 back. They got swept over the weekend too, and they're against Baltimore. Baltimore's playing better ball. And 5-5 of their last 10 is the Angels. So could he be a big piece here? I don't know. I like that he's an infielder on a team led by Ron Washington. That's big. If you know about Ron Washington, then you know what that means to a young player, especially a young infielder. So I think that's good. And we'll see how Christian Moore continues to develop. We'll see, because Joe Adell was supposed to be a motherfucker, and he never panned out for them. So let's see if Christian Moore can. I kind of like to lean Caglione can kind of be the young guy who kind of came up and really helped KC, give him that extra push. I don't know if the Angels are in that type of position that just bringing up Christian Moore is going to just ignite them like that, but we'll have to continue to see. But it makes for a fun little conversation. And now we'll see Christian Moore in the Bronx. He's looking for his first major league hit. So we'll tune into that. I'll be watching that game, and then, of course, Ohtani later. But in the Bronx, 4-game series, I believe the Angels are in town, and he's starting tonight. So we'll see Christian Moore in the Bronx against who? Clark Schmidt. We talked a lot about the NL West today, of course, because of Devers to San Fran. They're a second-place team. The first-place team is the Dodgers. They play a third-place team tonight in San Diego. Let's talk about a last-place team for a second. It's the Rockies. We call them the Get-Right Rockies. The Get-Right Rockies. That's what they are. And the reason we call them the Get-Right Rockies is because you play them and you start to get right. I'm not saying the Rockies have to get right. They're wrong on all cylinders. there hasn't been a team more wrong. But opposing players or teams in general are able to get right and get to the type of player that we know them as when they play Colorado. And the reason I bring this up, I think I'll do a deep dive a little bit on this because we've brushed over it in the past. Okay, when me and Sean do our picks and we talk about these teams and who do we like in this series, I'll do it in just a second. But a lot of times we brush by the Rockies and say, okay, we'll say things like, this is a good team to get going again. So you need to bounce back after a bad series. Now you have Colorado. That's big. That can help you start trending in the right direction, right? They should get it done against these guys. We always kind of skate by and say those types of things. Sean has also been talking a lot about confidence in guys, right? This is a confidence booster, a confidence killer at times. When he talked about Luzardo a few weeks ago, so Sean has been talking a lot about that. We always brush over and saying, okay, you have to beat this team and get going, get back in the win column, win a series. Here's a good team to do it against the Rockies. Well, we brushed over it, but I'm going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into it because there has been some notable dudes, and actually the Get Right Rockies. That's what I think Greg Amsinger was calling them on Friday night when they were talking about this on the national pregame show. The Get Right Rockies, and I like it. And I feel like we do a little deep dive of our own on this program. Here's some notables of dudes that have played the Rockies and started to kind of look like themselves again. We'll start with one of the big ones, and this happened a little while ago, and it's Juan Soto. So the Mets, right? They actually just got swept over the weekend against Tampa Bay. But so before the Tampa Bay series, they were in Washington. Before that was the Colorado series. So they not that long ago did the Mets play the Rockies in that series, and we all know Soto isn't off to the greatest of starts this year. Probably won't be an All-Star. He's hitting 247 on the season. Does have 13 homers, 36 ribbies, but fine. Okay, hitting 247. That number doesn't look good on Juan Soto. However, he is 280. He's hitting 286 in his last 7 games. Okay, part of that it bleeds into that Rockies series where his last game in Colorado, he did go 3 for 3 with 3 runs scored. The first game of that series, he went 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored. So he actually had 3, 4, 5, 6 runs scored in those 3 games and 2 3-hit games against Colorado in Colorado. He starts to get his confidence back. He starts to get going a little bit. Then he plays Washington. That's another under 500 team. But hey, if that helps you get right, that helps you get going, then so be it. Because he is hitting 286 in his last 7 days, and Soto in the high 280s makes sense for Juan Soto. Soto hitting 247 on the season doesn't look good. So these matchups matter, and they can really ignite a ball club and really give a guy confidence and propel him in the long course of a season. So how about Washington then? When he cruises into there after Colorado, he goes home, plays Washington. In the first 2 games of those in the Washington series, not only did he have 2 multi-hit games, but he had a homer in each of the games. 2 for 4 on the 10th with a homer, 2 runs and 2 ribbies. 2 for 4 on the 11th, a homer, a run, 2 ribbies. And then next day he actually stole a base, went 1 for 3 with a run, swiped the bat. Then he goes to Tampa. Well, I guess Tampa Bay came to Queens. He didn't have the greatest of series, but you could see him start to look up when he played the Rockies and then the Nationals, another under 500 team. And then when he's hot, the Mets are hot. So there's one there with Juan Soto. He started to look up. Okay, let's go to this guy who we'll see him play tonight. His name is Sandy Alcantara. He's got his work cut out for him against Mick Abel and the Phillies. But this guy pitched against Colorado on June 3rd. And there's actually more to this story because he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight losses. 7 straight decisions that were all losses. That actually started with a game in Philly. Now he's in Philly again tonight. We get two innings, 6 earned on April 18th. So from April 18th to May 23rd, 7 starts, 7 losses. Then he actually broke his streak of losses with 4 innings, 6 earned in San Diego. That was a no decision. So it was a terrible outing. But he broke his long chain of losses. But he was in need of a win. He goes to face Colorado on June 3rd. And he goes 6 innings, 2 earned, gets a no decision. That's a quality start. And he was able to do that against Colorado. And I know, again, it is Colorado. But again, this is a confidence booster. And these under 500 teams can allow you to get your swagger back. And that's the conversation here. It's not, it's Colorado. He should do that against Colorado. Well, maybe. I mean, in the midst of his losing streak, he got a loss against the White Sox. So It's not like he was lights out against the Pirates on opening day, but he goes to Colorado and he does exactly what I think they actually got swept in that series, though. That was the Miami when Colorado swept Miami in Miami. But either way, Sandy's looking to get back on track. He's looking to get right, and he was able to do that against Colorado with a quality start, no decision. Then he goes out in his second start in June on the 10th in Pittsburgh and goes 6 scoreless, gets a win. And in those 2 games against both fifth place teams, Colorado and Pittsburgh, 12 innings, 10 strikeouts, 2 runs, 2 walks. And you start to see things looking up. Now he's going to have an ultimate test to see if he can continue to build off of those tonight against Philly. Believe it's at the bank. It is. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's in Miami. So Phillies will be in town. Okay, but right now, he had a horrible, that 7-game stretch was disgusting. It was a bad April. It was a bad May. Now his first 2 starts in June have actually been better, and he's been doing that against below 500 teams and really piss poor teams, realistically. So he's been able to do that against piss poor, and maybe that gets you right. Now we'll have to see if that trend can continue against Philly. I think the Phillies come out and maybe kick his fucking ass. But we'll see how that trend continues against the Phillies, if it continues. But like I said, the Rockies help you get right. They help you get back on track. Pittsburgh also was a big part of that too. Now let's go to this guy who's happened a little bit more recently. Willie Adames, who has not started the season. Well, we kind of talked about this when we were talking about the Giants' potential lineup. Now that Devers is there, we talked about Adames not playing the greatest of baseball, not starting his Giants tenure off that well. He's hitting 201 on the season with 8 homers. But you look at his last 7 games, he's hitting 292 with 3 homers. So 3 of his 8 homers have happened in his last 7 games. He's hitting 292. Well, a big part of that is a 3-game series in Colorado. In his first 2 games in Colorado, he had a homer in each of his first 2, 5 ribbies in those 2 games, and he had a 3-hit game on the 11th. Then he cruises to play the number 1 team in the division, which was the Dodgers in LA. And the first game of that series, he hits a solo shot, 1 for 5, then goes 0 for 3, then goes 1 for 5. So a huge chunk of his last 7 days was that 3-game series against the Colorado, where he did kind of explode at 3-hit day, 2 homers. Then he did have a homer against the Dodgers on the 13th, though, too. That was Friday. But you start to see, you play Colorado, maybe you get right a little bit, you start to get your swagger back. The numbers, he's still hitting 201 on the season, but now he's hitting 292 in his last 7 because he's played that team. Sandy Alcantara's last 2 starts were against really bad teams. Maybe you start to get your swagger back. Things start to look up a little bit. You start to feel good again. Same with Soto, who has played, went from the Rockies to the Nationals, and has now hitting, 286 in his last 7? Well, he's hitting 247 in it overall. So things look up a little bit when you start to play those teams. Those are just a little example because we always kind of skate over it. That's a little bit more of a deep dive into how these guys can get going and how playing these bad teams and taking advantage of these bad teams. That's how those things can go. Now we go to the most recent example this past weekend. Who were the Rockies playing? Well, it's a team that has to get going. It's a team that has to get right. That's the theme here of the segment. Get right. And who was it? None other than one of the most underperforming teams in baseball. It was the Braves. It was the Braves. The Braves take 2 out of 3, which is a series that they're back in. Now, the Nationals are horrendous right now. So the Nationals are probably the coldest team in the sport. We'll talk about them in a second. Let's talk about the Nationals in just a second. But when the Braves were playing the Rockies, they were at home. Colorado came to Atlanta. Spencer Strider pitched on the 14th. That was Saturday. 6 scoreless innings, 13 strikeouts. He gets his first win of the season. We started to see Strider trending in the right direction because he was coming off a good outing in San Francisco, though they did lose and he got a loss. But he did get a quality start and a loss. But he cleaned up the walks a little bit on his last outing against Colorado. The strikeouts went way up. That's Spencer Strider-esque right there. 6 scoreless and 13 Ks. The win is Spencer Strider. Is like prime or vintage Spencer Strider. That's what he does. Strikes guys out, can go pretty deep into a game, and then put his team in a position to win, and that's what happened. But he was 0-5 in his first 5 starts. Now he's 1-5. So he gets a lot of decisions, this motherfucker. But yeah, we're starting to see him trend in the right direction, and Colorado could be a big team to kind of get you going. and we'll see how Strider continues to try. That was a good start for him. He needed it. He needed to get right, and the team needed to get right. They're in third place now because Washington is so bad. They've been playing hard. They're 1-9 in their last 10. Well, the Braves are 4-6 in their last 10. Two of those 4 wins happened against Colorado. They won that series. It was a good series for them to win and try to get right. They're trying to get right here, so they can do that. Now, the reason I wanted to kind of put a pause in my thoughts on Washington is because guess what? Who is Colorado playing now? Washington. And talk about a team. They're the coldest team in the sport. Now, I don't think Washington's a playoff team this year. We talk a lot about Washington. They're pacing to be a playoff team again by the end of the decade. They're not totally it right now, but to be 30-41, 11 games under, 1-9 in their last 10, I don't really think that's them either. I think they're probably about a fourth place team. They were ahead of Atlanta in the standings, and then they really started to struggle. I mean, losers of 8 straight games. That's Washington right now. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think that they're like super good that they can make a playoff, but I don't think they're this bad. But they have to get right. And now they have a series against the Rockies. How about that? After this, we can even look ahead a little bit further. We won't get our panties in a bunch, but just to look ahead a little bit more while we're on the topic. Who else needs to get right? The Diamondbacks. Well, after this national series, we'll see the Rockies D-backs for the weekend set, where Diamondbacks are 1 game above 500. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but they haven't really been able to take off in these standings ever. It's a fairly competitive division. We know that. I thought Arizona was going to be better in the absence of Corbin Burns. Now that he's banged up and out for the year, something has to give. They're going to have to start to get going. They just got themselves back over 500. Okay. But they have to get over this hump. And if they could, stay above 500 for their matchup at the beginning of the week, then they'll have a favorable matchup over the weekend with Colorado. Great opportunity for them to get right. And I don't know. Let's just, while we're on the topic, I'll just do this really quick. We'll see Zach Gallen in that series. That's what I wanted to check. On Friday, June 20th, we will see Zach Gallen, who there's reason to believe that he's been pitching, but he's been pitching into the 7. His last 3 starts, he went 7 innings, 6 2/3, 6 1/3. Okay, at Atlanta, at Cincy, against the Padres. 1-2 though in those 3 games. So he has given up 8 runs in his last 2 though, 4-4. But now he needs to get right, and he has a very favorable matchup to do it. The team has to get right. They have a favorable matchup to do it. Those are the get right Rockies as we look ahead a little bit on them. Here's some more teams that are really going to make you scratch your head. I mean, Colorado, we knew that they were going to stink, but the fact that they stink the way they stink is like really stinky. How about this one? What's going on in KC? Both the Missouri teams. We'll talk about St. Louis right after this. I don't have a lot to say about this, and then we'll get to our AUSL updates and then other upcoming matchups in the MLB. Kansas City, 34-38. 2-8 in their last 10, and losers of 6 straight. I think I alluded to this already when I was talking about Caglione for a sec and these young guys. Kansas City didn't win a single fucking game last week. They got swept by the Yankees in the early part of the week. I think that was a Monday. No, that might have been a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series. They didn't win. And then they lose Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the A's. They didn't win a single game last week. They're not the only team to do it. I mean, Washington has lost 8 straight. But that's horrible. And I said that they're 2-8 in their last 10. This is a team that has been kind of, now they're 4 games under 500. This is a team that's kind of been up and down 500, but never really had the chance to shoot up. They have the opportunity right now to seriously shoot up because the division isn't as good as it was maybe about a month ago, a couple weeks ago. Cleveland's a 500 team, 2-8 in their last 10. That's a third place team. The second place team is Minnesota, 36-35, 1 game over 500, 2-8 in their last 10. You see the trend here? No one is really running away with it between Minnesota, Cleveland, and Kansas City. No one's really running away with it. 36, 35, 34 wins, respectively. And then Detroit stands at the top, of course. White Sox at the bottom, of course. We all know that. But those middle teams, not a lot of fluctuation going in these standings. I think there should be and could be a lot more. Kansas City, to me, is the most put together team. I think Kansas City is still a playoff team this year, despite their current struggles. 11.5 games back. I'm not worried about that. I need them to get to be a 500 team and then don't look back. If Cleveland and Minnesota, they're not running away with it. They're not running away with and trying to secure a playoff spot right now. Well, of course they're trying to secure, but they're not really running away with it. They're not doing a good job. Minnesota, Cleveland, KC, all 2-8 in their last 10. I need KC to shoot the fuck up, take advantage of this, of what the hell's going on here. Because no one is really taking advantage of the fact that, okay, Detroit's at the top, White Sox at the bottom. We knew, I don't know if I knew that Detroit was going to be a first place team, but at a certain point of the season, you say, okay, these guys are the real deal. But we all knew the White Sox were going to be at the bottom, and it was like, how are those middle teams going to look? Well, no one's really running away with it right now. And KC, in the midst of no one running away with it, KC has gotten worse. And we've been on Caglione watch. I don't know when an appropriate time to, kind of expect big things out of Caglione. He was 1 for 4 yesterday, 2 for 10 in the series. I don't know when the appropriate time to kind of get on Caglione is, because he's still very young. You got to let the kids play, let them develop. So I don't want to. It's not. It doesn't just come down to him either. You don't want to make it feel like he comes into the show. It's like, hey, save our season, young guy. The weight of the world's on your shoulder. It's not that, but his presence in this lineup is immense, right? When he first came up, he didn't really get off to like this instant success. He's still hitting whatever the fuck I said he was hitting. Did I even say he's hitting 213 on the season? So he's still okay. He's getting there, fine. But when he first came up, it was the Cardinals series, and with just him being in that lineup, he didn't really wasn't much of a contributor offensively in that game or in that series or in his debut. But they put up like 10 runs, and they won 2 out of 3 from St. Louis. So him just being in that lineup is big. Now we have to start seeing results. Of course, Salvi is the captain here. We got to see Salvi Perez. 232 doesn't look great on him. Pasquantino, is he still hot? He's at 275, 227 in his last 7, though. Did have a multi-hit game yesterday, but he was on top of the world for a little bit, kind of came into that Yankees series and cooled off. He did have a hit in each game, but no like multi-hit games. He had like 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 1 for 4, a couple runs scored. Now, I expect him to be a big ribby guy, 1 ribby away from 40 on the season. For his first 7 in the A series, then he backed it up with a multi-hit game and a ribby yesterday. We know, so these are some big contributors. Maikel Garcia has been good, right? I want to see more of Jonathan India. We're at a point right now. He's a rookie in 2020. I got to see Jonathan India he won Rookie of the Year that year. But now this is 2025, and I need Jonathan India to be a big contributor on this team. So there's that. We knew their struggles offensively was evident at a certain point, and we knew that Caglione, his presence in this lineup is huge because he's a lefty bat that can bat in the middle of this order. We got to let him develop, but we knew he created depth and a big presence, a big boy, and a lefty stick. Could be a ribby producer. See when the homers start falling, then that'd be great. But we have to see more because they have the pitching now. The pitching can't get cold now because the offense isn't giving you the opportunity to exhale if you're the starting pitching. They have to continue to go full throttle, and Estevez is good in the pen, but Urseg is back. There's some things there, but the wheels haven't really been turning like I feel like they could be in Kansas City. And speaking of Missouri, here's St. Louis. Underperforming right now as well. Now maybe I shouldn't say underperforming. I expected Kansas City. I actually had them winning the division. St. Louis, I thought that they were kind of be at the bottom of the barrel this year. I don't think this was their year, but then they shocked everybody by winning 9, 10, 11 games. Whenever Minnesota was hot, they were right there with them, being real fucking hot teams. Okay, now both teams are quiet again. So it's like almost when the Central's rocking, both Centrals are rocking. And then when these Central teams start to fizzle out, well, here we go. So this is the NL Central now. 37 and 35. They're still 2 games over. They're tied for 3rd place right now with Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the hottest team in the division, 7 and 3 in their last 10. Okay, then the Pirates are actually 6 and 4 in their last 10. But let's eliminate the Pirates. They don't have 30 wins yet. So let's take them out of the picture and just look at the other teams that are kind of been moving. The Cubs have been at the top, and then Milwaukee's been bouncing around 2, 3, 4. Same with Cincy and St. Louis. Out of those teams, though, Chicago's 5 and 5 in their last 10. Milwaukee 5 and 5 in their last 10. St. Louis 3 and 7 in their last 10. There's Cincinnati shooting up 7 and 3 in their last 10. Been playing good ball. So 37 to 35 actually looks good on Cincinnati, where 37 to 35 does not look that great on St. Louis right now. The thing with St. Louis though is this: when they were getting really hot, I think their decision, or we were speculating that the decisions that they were going to make come trade deadline were going to be hard decisions. Are they buyers? Are they sellers? They're going to are they going to be all in and try to make a push? I don't think that would have been good for them. I think they have to be sellers and try to think long term here. So maybe the fact that they're trending back down to earth and they are 3-7 their last 10 and they are 7 games out, and Cincinnati is neck and neck with them right now, but they're the hotter team. And if they start to surpass them and St. Louis becomes a 4th place team, which I speculated, I had the way the standings actually look right now is how I predicted them. Now, St. Louis and Cincy are tied, but when you look at the standings, it goes Chicago, Milwaukee, Cincy, St. Louis, Pittsburgh. Again, Cincy, St. Louis tied there, but that's what I had. I had Cincy being the 3rd place team. I thought they were just kind of more young and spunky right now. Or St. Louis, I think they had to make some drastic changes. So now that they are coming down to earth and not playing the greatest baseball right now, after they were just on top of the world for a little bit, now that they've kind of trickled back down to earth, I think their decision at the deadline is more evident, and their moves that they have to make, maybe it makes it for a little bit of an easier decision. You move Helsley, you see what you can get for these guys. Maybe you move Arenado, and you do shit like that. You look at this year as good for player development. Like Victor Scott's a good player, man. Ivan Herrera's a good player. Mason Wynn's having a good season. You look at some of those guys and you say, okay, we're going to continue to develop these guys. I thought there's been some sparks in the pitching staff. Cool. But you need a little bit more. It's not really their year. And now I think this makes the decision at the trade deadline a little bit more evident that they are going to be, in fact, sellers instead of buyers, when everyone's like, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Well, I think we're starting to see, that their 15 minutes are up. A lot of peaks and valleys over the course of a season. I think their peak was just there. I don't know if they're ever going to come back up to that, especially now that Milwaukee is going to play you tough, since he's going to be spunky. The Cubs don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. And the NL as a whole is hard. Let's go to the AUSL. Change of pace here. We'll see on the 17th, which is tomorrow, on Tuesday. Both games, there's only 4 teams in the AUSL. Go give a quick update here. The 4-1 Bandits playing the Talons tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You got to figure out where these teams are playing. You got to look at it because they travel like motherfuckers. Then you got the Blaze. They're 1-4. Come on, Blaze. And the Volts 2-3. So the 2 over 500 teams are playing each other at 7 o'clock tomorrow. The 2 under 500 teams are playing at 9:30 as the Volts look to get to 500, be 3-3. Now I'm high on the Blaze. I'm high on the Bandits. I was high on the Bandits before a lick of AUSL has even played, and they just so happen to be 4-1, baby. Is it 4-1? I thought it was 5-1. 5-1. Sorry, I had to refresh the fucking page. 5-1. Talons 4-2. Blaze 1-5. And the Volts 2-4, so they can't get to 500. But they have a good little upcoming series here against the Blaze. So if they can win Tuesday and Wednesday, when they play the Blaze and get to be 500, good for them, because then they'll cruise into Friday playing the Talons, who are 4-2. So in the first 6 games, the Bandits are the best team, the Blaze are the worst team, and then you have the Talons at 4-2 and the Volts at 2-4. And again, I've been high on the Bandits since they started. I just thought it was the coolest name. And man, I'll tell you, Aaron Koffel kicks ass. My girl fucking Bubba Nichols and Lexi Kilfoyle. You don't want to mess with that squad. Little AUSL there. Little AUSL. Okay. Approach the hour 10 mark. We'll talk about our upcoming matchups here. What do we like? What do we expect? I'm going to get a little comfortable. Let's get a little comfy here. Talk a little ball here. We'll see Philly and Miami tonight. It's a 4-game series. The first of a 4-game set. Philly, Miami, we'll see it at 6:40, which is pretty much as soon as we finish the program, this game will come on. Mick Abel and Sandy Alcantara. We'll see Luzardo and Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill is, in fact, Canadian. Ranger Suarez versus TBD on Wednesday. Thursday, to wrap up the 4-game set, Christopher Sanchez and Edward Cabrera. Okay. This is the Greg Dobbs series. That's a good one. AJ Burnett series. Martin Prado series? I like the Greg Dobbs series. Okay, this is a good one. Realistically, it's tough to sweep a 4-game series. This is in Miami. I do think McAble can go out and shove. He has been He's coming off his worst outing, and he's proven that he can. His first outing of the season was against Pittsburgh. Miami, Pittsburgh, they both stink. He also pitched good in Toronto. I don't think he got a win. So his first win, I think he's 1-0. And his first win, let me just make sure my facts are straight here. His first win was his first outing against Pittsburgh. He looked fantastic. 6 scoreless, no walks, and 9 Ks. He pitched well in Toronto, 5 1/3, 1 earned. Gets a no decision, and his last outing against the Cubs was as hard as. Well, I mean, Toronto's been playing good baseball. Probably should be talking about Toronto a little bit more, and maybe even Tampa Bay. Toronto's playing good baseball, but I do think the Cubs are probably his toughest matchup yet. He went 4 innings, 3 earned against them. He gave 3 homers, got a no decision in that game. Now he's got Miami again, so I think Toronto and actually after the Pittsburgh series, Pittsburgh start, which was his major league debut, he got sent back down, and they called him back up, however many days later, to face Toronto and then the Cubbies. Now he's got Miami, so I think this is a more. And listen, I know Sandy's been trending well. We talked about that, but the Phillies not. Who did the Miami play? When Sandy's last 2 outings were Pittsburgh and before that Colorado. Philly can take advantage of you. I think Mick Abel can settle down and play good ball and bounce back after that Cubs start. So we want to see Mick Abel do well there. Luzardo, Cal Quantrill, a pair of lefties going at it there on Tuesday. I expect Luzardo to take care of business. Ranger and TBD, another lefty, Christopher Sanchez and Edward Cabrera. Phillies are throwing 3 lefties at him. It's tough to sweep, but the Phillies sweep great. I certainly would expect 3 out of 4 from Philly. That would be big there. Okay, Colorado, Washington. Now, this is the dog shit series of the week, but maybe it's important to look at if you're Washington, because Washington is home. And even if they were in Colorado, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. But Washington is home. They need to get back on track. They're probably the coldest team in the sport. They have to get back on track. This is a really good team to do it against. We'll see Palmquist and Jake Irvin tonight. Another 4-game set. Sensatellis and Mike Soroka, who might be a spin streamer. If we stay tuned for spin streamers after this, I'll do a spin streamer. I think Soroka I kind of like for tomorrow. Favorable matchup, and he will be available in just about every league. Anyway, German Marquez and Mitchell Parker, Dollander and Trevor Williams to wrap it up on Thursday. I think the what are they called? I think the Get Right Rockies are going to strike again, man. And I would expect 3 out of 4 for Washington here. You're not seeing anyone's ace. You're not seeing Mackenzie Gore here. But I think, Irvin can pitch well to start the season. I like Mike Soroka to be a spin streamer on Tuesday. A lot of high ERAs and a lot of losing records in Colorado. Maybe they get you on one of these days. Maybe Marquez has been around long enough where he can go toe-to-toe with Mitchell Parker. I don't know. But I expect 3 out of 4 from Washington. Okay, let's move the fuck on from that one. Angels and the Yankees. Yankees. This matchup doesn't scare you if you're a Yankee fan. You don't take anybody lightly. But this isn't Boston when they just got swept. Some of these under 500 teams, I should say some of them, because Boston got over 500 when they were playing them. But Boston, these division rivals are going to play you hard. These first-place teams are, I don't get scared from AL Central opponents. I don't get scared from under 500 teams in the West. Well, the Angels are one of those teams. So the Yankees should very well take care of business in this 4-game set. We'll see Clark Schmidt, followed by Will Warren, Yarborough, and Carlos Rodon. For the Angels, we'll see Soriano tonight, followed by Kyle Hendricks, Kachanowicz, and Tyler Anderson. So we'll see Anderson and Rodon, a pair of lefties, on Thursday. Yankees have a lot of games in a row. That's the big storyline with the Yankees right now. A lot of games in a row. I think it was 16 straight. Now you bump it down to 10 straight, right? Because you had Kansas City and you had Boston. So 3-game. Now you got 10. It was 16 straight games. Now they're going to be in the midst of 10 straight. And part of those 10 is going to be 4 against the Angels at home. As long as Stanton's coming back, you got to keep the bullpen good. Make sure everyone comes out of this long 16 straight games healthy. But realistically, again, tough to sweep a 4-game set. But I think maybe the Yankees can bounce back and sweep. I really want 3 out of 4, though. The Yankees should win this series. If you don't want to split, this one. Okay, here's an interesting one. Baltimore at Tampa Bay. When I said interesting, I meant really maybe not interesting at all. But I guess maybe you can argue it's interesting. Listen, it's a division game. Tampa Bay is better than expected. Baltimore is way worse than expected. We'll see Eflin and Pepio tonight with Kramer and Littell on Tuesday. TBD and Taj Bradley, followed by Charlie Morton and Drew Rasmussen to wrap it up on Thursday. A whole slew of night games happening in Tampa Bay, which isn't really Tampa Bay. It's actually, I think, Clearwater. but Tampa Bay will be the home team here. Baltimore playing better baseball. Can they climb up from the gutter? I don't know. Tampa Bay will play you hard, and they are at home. I like Pepio a lot. They know a thing or two about Eflin. They do. Dean Craig. Oh, what is this? By the way, I got to do my thing. We had the Greg Dobbs series, Colorado, Washington. That's a hard one. The Ian Desmond series, and then Angels, Yankees. We'll call it the Hideki Matsui series. Okay, now we're at the Baltimore, Tampa Bay. I don't know if I know that one. I don't know if I know that one. Nelson Cruz series. Maybe played a year for both of those teams. Anyway, I'm looking for Tampa Bay again to take 3 out of 4. I know these are kind of crazy. I maybe the way Baltimore's playing, they could battle, go toe to toe with you here in the Nelson Cruz series. They could battle and split a series because Baltimore playing better. They keep going on these scrappy little win streaks. It hasn't really been enough to seriously propel them, but they are 10 games under right now, 12 back, 6-4 in their last 10 on a 3-game win streak. So they just swept they just swept someone over the weekend. Forget who. Who the fuck they swept? Who cares? But I mean, maybe was it Seattle? I forget. But either way, okay. They kind of be going on these like low key little win streaks. Tampa Bay though also is 7-3 in their last 10. They also have a 3-game win streak. They're looking for win number 40. They're 3.5 behind the Yankees. So this is big for Tampa Bay. They are the home team. Where Baltimore maybe can play you hard, you play your division rivals hard. I don't fucking know. Maybe Baltimore can split. I don't see Tampa Bay losing this series. At worst, they split. I think Tampa Bay could take 3 out of 4. Okay, let's go to Boston and Seattle. So it'll be the first time without Rafi Devers. The first game tonight at 9:40. The Rafael Deverless Red Sox. A lot of stock in these young guys, man. We'll see what the lineup looks like tonight because the lineup that we put together here has Bregman and Abreu in it, so it'll be without those guys. So maybe we're looking at like a Rob Ruffschneider tonight, or maybe Roman Anthony's out there, and we'll see who's DH and Robbie Gonzalez, Toro. Look for those guys to be out there. But here's another big storyline of this series. Tonight's Giolito for Boston, but here's the thing: is Logan Gilbert makes his return. I don't think he had a rehab assignment, so he's just coming right back. Logan Gilbert, when healthy, when in a perfect world, he's their ace. So you want to see him be able to go. I don't know if he has a pitch count tonight. I don't know much about Logan Gilbert. I just know he's coming back, and I got him playing in fantasy. So we'll have to see how Logan Gilbert looks in his first game back. This will be in Seattle. Giolito versus Gilbert. Walker Buehler versus Brian Wu. Garrett Crochet versus Luis Castillo. You like to favor Seattle here. You really do when you look at these pitching matchups. But I think Boston has been the hotter team as of late. Seattle really not. 4-6 in their last 10. They're only 2 games above 500, but they did just sweep this weekend. I don't know who the fuck anybody played. I'm all banged up. But either way, okay, when you look at, I'm not a big fan of Giolito. You want to favor Gilbert here. I don't know. I don't hate Buehler. I don't like Buehler, really. I really like Brian Wu. You want to favor him and expect him to shove. You really got to respect Garrett Crochet. He's coming off a fantastic outing, his last outing against the Yankees. And then Luis Castillo, you want to believe that maybe that's a really good pitching duel. I don't know. Castillo's been pitching better as of late. But I do think Seattle being the home team, and you're going to roll those 3 pitchers out. Now, we'll see what happens with Gilbert, and we'll see what happens in the Crochet-Castillo series, and Crochet-Castillo game. And maybe even Brian Wu proves to be a good game, too. I lean Brian Wu here. I like to lean Gilbert. And then I think Seattle can take 2 out of 3 here. They are the home team. But of course, the big storylines that everyone's going to be tight. It's a 9:40 game tonight, and the big storyline is going to be Rafael Devers news, of course, and then Logan Gilbert on the other side making his first start since coming off the IL. Those will be the big storylines there. So if you're watching that game, just get ready that they're going to beat that dead horse till like the fucking second or third inning. Okay, Houston at the A's. 4-game set here. Lance McCullers Jr. TBD. So the A's are all TBD from Thursday. Maybe if you go on the right website, you'll see. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I don't really care about this series. It's the top of the line team in the AL West versus the dog shit team in the AL West. The A's are going for win number 30. You have 29 wins. So one of these wins, if they don't get swept, they'll be at 30 wins. So that'd be good for them. They did just sweep the weekend. A lot of sweeps this weekend apparently. Texas swept, Houston swept, Seattle swept, and Angels got swept. So everyone in the division. Okay. But we'll see McCullers. We'll see Ryan Gusto. We'll see Framber Valdez. We'll see Colton Gordon for Houston, and then we'll see TBD, DBD, whatever. We'll figure it out as the A's go. But again, I'm not dwelling too much on it because the A's pitching doesn't scare me. I think Houston, you can't split. You have to expect Houston to win at least 3 out of 4. If they sweep, good for you. Houston is playing that good baseball, but 8-2 in their last 10, man. Houston is the real deal. They're the real deal. I mean, how do you bet again? If they take care of business, they play exciting games too. Houston, those games are kind of fun. And those games will be in West Sacramento. And it's not like the A's have an awful offense. There's some guys that maybe you want to tune in to watch, but it's Houston. It's Houston all the way. Let's move on to a better series that will start tonight and Thursday. San Diego Dodgers in a 4-game set. Dylan Cease versus Ohtani. Cease has to bounce back. I think he's looked better as of late, but the big talk of the town will be Ohtani. We'll see him for 1-2 innings, but let's not get carried away with Ohtani that we forget that maybe Dylan Cease can go out and shove for you. Let's see how Dylan Cease has looked as we try to cease the day here. His last 2 outings have been pretty good. He did go 7 scoreless against the Dodgers. He just faced them. 5 walks. We don't like that. He had 3 walks against San Fran the start before. 8 walks in his last 2 games. We don't love that, Dylan. But he did have 11 strikeouts, and before that, 7 Ks. He actually got a loss against San Fran. But his last outing, 7 scoreless with 11 Ks, a win on the 10th against the Dodgers. Now he'll face them again. Now, I don't really necessarily love the pitchers in these back-to-back matchups when they just see you and you pitch what. Now, if he would have pitched bad last outing, maybe I'd be like, I probably wouldn't have any high hopes for him. But now I kind of don't have. As you play against the Dodgers, it's tough to really root for or bet on a guy. But the talk of the town will be Ohtani. If Cease can continue what he did last outing against the Dodgers, I just don't think you could do that twice in a row against anybody, let alone the Dodgers. I mean, that level of dominance, 7 scoreless, and now they see you again 6 days later. I don't fucking know, man. I'm thinking, not that Ohtani's going to go deep in this game, but let's look for that to be an interesting game. These teams play each other hard, and they've been seeing each other a lot lately. Expect probably the Dodgers to get the Cease tonight, I think. We'll see Randy Vasquez, Stephen Kolek, and TBD in that order for San Diego versus TBD Yamamoto. I think this could be a series split. I really do. I think Yamamoto can get you. We'll see if San Diego, how they look. I think the days that the Dodgers have their better, more, I can say better, but they're more notable arms. Like Ohtani's only going to go max 2 innings tonight, but they also have Yamamoto on Thursday. But then they're sandwiched in between them is TBD and TBD. But the Padres are throwing Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek. I respect Vasquez. Okay, let's say Dodgers win tonight. I think Randy Vasquez can get it done. Maybe Wednesday's a bit of a slugfest between Kolek and a TBD. Maybe the Padres pull it out in Chavez Ravine. But that's back-to-back games for the Padres in the Lions' den. That's going to be a big ask because I don't think they can beat Yamamoto. I think Yamamoto bears down and they split the series. That'll be very interesting if they split the series. If they don't split the series, listen, the Padres are trying to get win number 40 here. They are in 3rd place and 3 games back. Right, and San Fran just got a whole lot better on paper with Devers. We'll get into them in a second. They're 2nd place with the Dodgers. Yeah, San Fran's 2 games back. The Padres are 3. Yeah, these teams are going to play each other hard, man. So that's going to be fun to see there in the race to the West. Okay, Pittsburgh and Detroit. Who gives a shit? Now, there are some notables here, okay, because we could look forward for some good pitching matchups. Bailey Falter and Casey Mize might be the sneaky pitching matchup of the night. This is Tuesday, by the way. So this will start Tuesday's slate. Pittsburgh and Detroit. Bailey Falter been pitching good ball. Casey Mize has been good all year. That's the sneaky one because other than that, all eyes are going to be on Tarek Skubal on Wednesday and Paul Skeens on Thursday. So we're not going to see them against each other, which would be crazy. But it'd be Heaney versus Skeens on Wednesday, Paul Skeens and TBD on Thursday. Again, Falter and Mize might be a good little head-to-head matchup. They've both been playing good ball. You have to favor Detroit. They're the home team and the better team. You got to figure. I mean, Heaney hasn't been bad. Battle a couple of lefties here, Heaney and Skubal. But you got to go Skubal all the way. And Skeens versus TBD, we'll see what happens. Listen, Skeens can keep you in a game, and as long as they can manufacture a few runs, they maybe can avoid a sweep. But you got to figure Detroit wins this series. They are a well-oiled machine out there. AJ Hinch and the boys, Riley Green and the boys. Oh, I keep forgetting to do my players. It's okay. I'll try to do one now with Arizona at Toronto, which could prove to be a good little series. This is in Toronto. And Toronto has been playing some fun matchups lately. I mean, they had who do they have? Cardinals, Phillies. Now they got Arizona. Like there was a time maybe you overlooked these, like myself included. I think we all overlooked these Toronto matchups. Now they're kind of proven to be fun little matchups with Arizona in town now because Toronto, a lot of interleague games. These motherfuckers. They're 38 and 33. They're 4.5 back, and realistically one behind second place Tampa Bay. So they're looking to stay afloat and kind of be a shock to everybody. We'll see Brendan Pfaadt and Chris Bassett Tuesday. Eduardo Rodriguez, Erod and TBD, Ryan Nelson and Kevin Gausman on Thursday. I love to say snakes alive, man. And I love to see a division rival lose in Toronto. I love to see them lose. And I love to see Arizona get back on track because they have to start playing some good baseball before they go out and this weekend for Colorado. If they can build off of they just got back over 500. They could build off of that, go to Toronto, play good ball. Maybe they win 2 out of 3. We'll have to see Toronto lose a series. We'll have to see Arizona get to 38 and 36 and then cruise into a Colorado series. But then that puts them in a position to get to 40 wins. Wouldn't be bad for them. So this is a big pivotal series for Arizona. Toronto also. Again, the Arizona-Toronto, I mean, listen, I didn't know if that was going to be one of the better matchups of the week, but I do think, when these are 7 o'clock games and, you got the Yankees on, you got fucking a good West Coast battle between Padres, Dodgers. Maybe you turn into Scooble and Skeens. I don't fucking know. There's a lot of notables. I think Arizona-Toronto could be a sneaky, fun little matchup there because both teams need it in order to climb in the standings. Okay, Minnesota-Cincinnati. Oh, by the way, what's Arizona and Toronto? What do you call that series? Sound off in the comments. What do you call that? Arizona, Toronto. I'm trying to do these, like immaculate grid style. I don't know. Minnesota, Cincinnati. We got to plow through here as we wrap up. Tuesday, David Festa, Andrew Abbott. Wednesday, Bailey Ober, Lodolo. Thursday, Paddock and Nicky Martinez. Again, who gives a shit, really? Minnesota, Cincy. Good little divisional matchup here. Does these standings kind of fluctuate? Cincy's the hottest team in the division. Milwaukee's been doing a decent job of staying afloat. 500 ball in their last 10, but they'll be going for win number 40. I don't know if I hate David Festa, but listen, you got to respect the hell out of Andrew Abbott, man. You got to respect the hell out of Andrew Abbott. Bailey Ober, do we ride with the Ober on Wednesday? I think, Minnesota this is. Might be, I was looking at Milwaukee. Minnesota 36 to 35. That changes everything for this interleague play. Sorry, I thought I was looking at Milwaukee. It says MIN. Not MIL. I'll be doing this for an hour. Fucking, I'm going on 90 minutes now. I still got spin streamers too, baby. So we're going to plow through this. Minnesota, Cincy, David Festa, Andrew Abbott. You still take Abbott. I don't give a shit who he's playing against. It's Abbott, Milwaukee, Minnesota, Miami, fucking M, all these M's, Missouri. Fucking everyone's an M. I don't give a shit who it is. It's Abbott. You take the over, then there's Lodolo. Maybe you lean Bailey over. Maybe I don't know. Maybe, who gives a shit? Paddock and Nicky Martinez. I don't know. I think Cincy being the home team helps them. Minnesota's been cold, and Cincy's been hot. And Cincy is the home team here. Let's look at Cincy to take 2 out of 3. We'll say. Well, we'll go to the Mets and the Braves. Call this the Willie Mays series? No, we don't. Who do we call this? It's tough, man. Doing this on the fucking fly. Mets, Braves. The Robinson Cano series. Wow, that's where my mind goes. Either way. David Peterson and Schwellenbach. Paul Blackburn, see how he looks, versus Chris Sale. Blackburn's got his work cut out. Clay Holmes and Spencer Strider. Like we said, the Braves just came off a series against the Get Right Rockies. I think Strider's feeling himself. He's going to be at home against a division rival. Everyone and their mama knows that the Braves have to get right. 8 games under 500, where the Mets are, they lead the way in the East right now. 45 and 27 are the Mets. They get swept over the weekend though, so I think the Mets are going to look to be coming out with a lot of juice after being swept. Now they're on the road. This game will start Tuesday. The series starts Tuesday, and I like David Peterson. But listen, you're going to roll out Schwellenbach, Sale, and Strider in a series. I like Sale over Blackburn. I think Strider can build off of it, keep you in a game very well against Clay Holmes. I think I'm kind of not really changing my mind on Strider. I was never really too high or too low on Strider. I was just he needs to get going, and I think we're starting to see that now. So I think I'm at a point right now where I can maybe trust Strider a little bit more than I did about a month ago. And then Swellenbuck, you want to trust him too. So I don't know. I would love to see the Braves take 2 out of 3 here. I really would. So you figure it's Sale, and then between Swellenbach and Strider, they win one of those games. I would love that. How about this one? This is kind of a dog shit bowl too, between the Cardinals and the White Sox. Okay, Liberatore and Shane Smith. I like Shane Smith. White Sox are the home team. This game will start Tuesday. Wednesday, Sonny Gray and Sean Burke. Thursday, Eric Fettuccini and Adrian Hauser. Liberatore, I don't hate. Might be a spin streamer. Shane Smith, solid rookie. Should be an all-star this year. Sonny Gray, Sean Burke. I want to lean Sonny Gray, Eric Fettuccini over Hauser. Hauser's been pitching really good ball. When you're the White Sox and you roll out those 3 pitchers, it doesn't look that bad. But I don't think that they're that great of a team. St. Louis has to get back in the win column. I think this is a good team to do it against, and I expect Sonny Gray to be that motherfucker. Fettuccini maybe too. And I don't even hate Liberatore. I think all 3 guys can keep you in the game. Maybe St. Louis bounces back this weekend with this matchup in mind. 2 out of 3 St. Louis in the south side of Chicago. That's where that game will be. Chicago White Sox. KC and Texas. Wow. Seth Lugo, Jack Leiter. Jack Leiter might be a spin streamer. Bubic and TBD. Michael Wacha at TBD. Zen's been killing me. Bubic was the ERA leader up until he ran into the Yankees and he gave up like 5 runs in 2 innings. He didn't give up 5 runs in 2. He hasn't given up 5 runs in any start ever this year, and the Yankees got to him in 2 innings. Lugo, I think, pitched well against the Yankees. They ultimately lost that game, but Lugo pitched well. Wacha has been pretty good all season. We have to look deeper and to see who Texas has, who the probables are for Texas moving forward. I know Tyler Mahle just got put on the shelf, so we'll see what happens there. But I don't hate Leiter versus Lugo. I think that's going to prove to be a good matchup. KC's just playing really bad baseball, and Texas has been waking up a little bit. Texas winners of their last 4, 7-3 in their last 10. That puts them at 500. I think if just going on, and they are the home team here, well, KC has been playing miserable baseball as of late. So I do think Texas can win tonight, but I'm not shocked if KC starts to play hard after if Texas wins tonight, that puts Kansas City 7 straight losses. And maybe they bounce back. Bubic bounces back. Not totally confident in Texas' offense. They look better as of late. Not totally confident in it. Lugo, he could pitch well against you. Bubic could. Wacha. I think maybe Texas wins the series. Maybe Bubic is the one that KC gets to. But KC has to get going. And Texas wants to continue to build off of their 4 straight wins here. Okay, Milwaukee, Chicago. The Aramis Ramirez series. There's a good one. Chad Patrick, Ben Brown on Tuesday. Jacob Mizorowski, we talked about. He's been a bit of a stud. And Tyone, Freddie Peralta, Cade Horton on Thursday for the, what's his name? Aramis Ramirez series. Okay. You like day games in Wrigley? Well, too bad. You got to wait for Thursday for a 2:20 start time. And Tuesday, Wednesday are going to be 8 o'clock games. So I like Chad Patrick, but you have to favor the Cubbies offense here. I do think I like Jacob Mizorowski, but again, he's going to run into the Cubs. He's going to run into the fucking Cubs here, man. I do think Cubbies take 2 out of 3, but Milwaukee's going to play them very hard. This is going to prove to be a really good series. These are the top 2 teams in the Central. The Cubs have been in the first place the whole fucking year. Milwaukee's trying to get going. They're trying to get over 40 wins. They're at 39 right now, so maybe they get their 40th win in Wrigley this week. But listen, Freddie Peralta versus Cato, maybe they avoid a sweep with Freddie, but I expect the Cubs offense to do what they do. And I think Tyone can do enough to keep you in a game. Ben Brown can do enough to keep you in a game. I think Cade Horton can do enough to keep you in a game. I think Freddie Peralta can outpitch him, though, and go deeper. So there's that. I would look for the Cubs to take 2 out of 3. I really would. If Milwaukee takes 2 out of 3, really good for Milwaukee. Okay, let's go to Cleveland, San Fran. San Fran, this will be the last one and this would be big because obviously Rafael Devers will get his first start of the season on Tuesday, 9:45 game in San Fran. So expect McCovey Cove, his splashes in McCovey Cove from the left-handed stick of Rafael Devers. But we'll see Slade Ciccone and Robbie Ray. Game 1, Logan Allen TBD, Gavin Williams TBD. There's some TBD dudes for San Fran because they just traded some motherfucking arms. We got to see what happens there. Either way, I do like San Fran here. I want to see Cleveland continue to deteriorate because fuck them. And I like San Fran. Let's go. The hot team. And listen, this is Cleveland's in town, so you're easing in Rafael Devers in his tenure at San Fran, or his with his new team now. You're easing him in against the American League team that he's seen a bunch in his years with fucking Red Sox. He knows Ciccone. He knows Logan Allen. He knows Gavin. They know him too, but he knows them more than a lot of these NL dudes know because he's played a lot more games against Cleveland. So, okay, there's that. And Robbie Ray's pitching like an all-star this year. So, I'll favor Robbie Ray on Tuesday. Maybe Devers goes yard. He probably goes fucking splash zone on these motherfuckers. We'll go Robbie Ray. And then between the Logan Allen TBD, Gavin Williams TBD, I think San Fran being the home team wins one of those games. I don't think Cleveland gets swept. But if they do get swept, that'd be great. Either way, let's look for San Fran to win there because, hey, listen, man, there's a lot happening in the NL West. But there's all that and more shit to go over on Wednesday when Shiny comes back. But that's all for now, guys. We just go over hour 36, man. Usually it's me and Sean doing hour 36 by myself, and I fucking had to take a water break. Thanks for tuning in. Follow the shit on Facebook. We'll see you Wednesday for Sean in the morning. Sean return. Sean makes a return. We're going to have a lot to talk about. We'll talk about some of these matchups. We'll also do spin screamers, so stay tuned for that.